What if a simple flag, a song, or a stone tomb could change everything? Hi there, I'm Chris with a K, and welcome back to This Week in Queer History, where we celebrate queer moments and icons that I wish I had known about as a young gay kid growing up in conservative America. Today, we're unwrapping the gifts that have shaped queer history. These aren't just the thoughtless presents, they're the silent but strong symbols of queer progress. We'll look at objects, pieces of art, and events that have been gifted to the LGBTQ community, helping us all march a little bit forward. The rainbow flag, queer anthems, and even simple pieces of art may never look the same to you again after you see this video. So let's get into it.
This week in queer history, stories told with love and glee.
So let's start in ancient Egypt. Yeah, we're going all the way back to the age of the pyramids, when men wore eyeliner and toss that beautiful sleek hair. Around 2400 BCE, that's about 5,000 years ago, two royal manicurists to the pharaoh were buried in a shared tomb in Saqqara. Their names were Khnum-hotep and Nean-Khnum, and the carvings inside their tomb show them embracing nose to nose. And why is this special? Well, this pose was typically reserved for married couples. Historians today often recognize them as one of the earliest known same-sex couples in recorded history. And this is truly a gift from the ancient world. It quietly reminds us that queer love is not a new thing and it's always existed. And if you want to know more about them, I have a full video detailing all of the juicy details. Just click that link up above. Fast forward a few thousand years to June 28th, 1969, when the Stonewall Inn in New York City was raided for the upteenth time. But this time was different. Queer patrons, drag queens, street kids, and trans women, including some icons who may or may not have been there, Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, they all resisted. Those nights of uprising tipped the movement towards justice, and just a year later, the first Christopher Street Liberation Day March was held. And it's now called Pride, which we all know, but that cleared a space for us in history. And with those early marches came signs, buttons, and banners that are now treasured artifacts from those early LGBTQ years of activism. That march brought nearly 100,000 queer Americans together on the national stage and gifted us clarity in a previously fragmented queer world. And then there is a rainbow flag. And when you hear those words, you probably picture joy and glitter, drag queens, shirtless muscle guys wearing short shorts and harnesses, all under some big corporate pride banner that might make you roll your eyes. But in 1978, before all of that glitz, Gilbert Baker, he hand-dyed and stitched the very first rainbow flag in San Francisco. The original version had 8 stripes, and each symbolized values like healing and sunlight, nature and spirit. Baker described the flag as a rainbow of humanity. It was a symbol that would help empower a community that had been told over and over that it was disgusting and an abomination. And around that same moment in history, activists reclaimed a different symbol, the pink triangle. It had been used in Nazi concentration camps to mark men imprisoned for homosexuality. But in the 1970s and the 1980s, it became a symbol of resistance, especially during the AIDS epidemic. ACT UP featured it prominently in their Silence Equals Death poster, turning a mark of persecution into a global rallying cry. From such darkness, an object that could ignite engagement and remind people that apathy can assist atrocities. And then there's one of the most powerful gifts of art from queer history, the AIDS Memorial Quilt, which was first displayed in 1987 on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. It eventually grew to include over 48,000 panels, each sewn in memory of someone we lost to AIDS. It was a gift of grief and of love, one that still honors those that have passed. Queer history has also given us songs that inspired. In 1978, Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive burst onto the world stage and quickly became an anthem of resilience. No matter the hate, I'm here. Just over a decade later, Cyndi Lauper gave us True Colors. It's a ballad that says, I see you exactly as you are, and you are beautiful. And then in 2011, Lady Gaga shouted what queer people had whispered for generations, Born This Way. These songs stay with us in our hearts and help us take a step forward each day. Art has always served as gifts to the queer community. Robert Mapplethorpe's photography showed LGBTQ bodies and intimacy unapologetically. They were beautiful and erotic and always human. His photos challenged a country terrified to look at gay people directly, but his work demanded that queer people be seen and celebrated. Fashion also became a present wrapped in designer bows. Jean-Paul Gaultier's cone bras for Madonna helped push queer aesthetics into the mainstream pop culture in the early 1990s. Clothing became armor, camp, celebration. We all have been influenced by gifts from queer icons in the fashion world. And even in this century, our community keeps receiving gifts that will make the future better for LGBTQ people in the future. Marriage equality, the naming of the Stonewall National Monument in 2016, which was the first U.S. national monument dedicated to LGBTQ history, the growing recognition of gender diversity across the globe, and the countless digital archives, podcasts, and social media documentarians that are preserving queer history. These are true gifts. And when we hold any of these objects in our mind, like the ancient tomb of Neon Khnum and Khnum-Hotep, the proud waving rainbow flag, or power ballad of hope, the expansive AIDS quilt, or a photo of two people exchanging a loving embrace, you hold items of human courage. And from a distance, these items may just look like ordinary objects, but when we look at them closer, they are powerful gifts. Each one adding its voice to the thought, we were here. We loved, we fought, we mattered, and we will keep pushing on. I can still remember a time when I was not out and not proud. When I was still just a sophomore at Southern Utah University. When I was still unable to say I am gay. But it was the beginning of a new year with new possibilities. And on one of those first fall days, I found myself at the club fair, which was an event held out on the university quad where we could meet all of the clubs that were happening that year. And that vast outdoor open field was buzzing with this energy. Folding tables and chairs everywhere, pens, and that nervous new school year energy. And then I saw it across the field, a rainbow flag rippling in the mountain air breeze. And I knew that I had to make my way over there, but I was terrified to do it. That flag was so beautiful in the sun's light. And it wasn't just the bright, bold colors, but how it stood out against all the other more conservative tables. Just so brave and courageous. And I must have circled that table dozens of times, pretending not to care about that table, but just like seeing all the other tables around. I stop at the chess club, the earth club, the chemistry club, none of which I really wanted to join that year. But I was just trying to work up the courage to stand in front of that flag. And after a few more passes and a deep breath, I stepped over and stood there in front of that table. And I was greeted by Clifton, a very handsome and confident and very kind person. He smiled and handed me a flyer, and in that small exchange, something began to shift in me. That bright flag, yes, it's a symbol of hope and belonging, but it had welcomed me to the beginning of a journey that was going to be so beautiful, scary, but beautiful. And it's so funny that the thing about symbols is that they seem small until you realize they're actually holding the weight of 1,000 unspoken hopes. That rainbow flag wasn't just a banner, it was an invitation. It said, you belong here, and you always have. I carried that message with me all through college and after. I bought a rainbow necklace at my first Pride parade and wore it for years. I stuck a reflective rainbow sticker on the back of my SUV. And those first few years, I was torn by both the joy of being proud, but also this really intense fear that someone might key my car. But I did it anyway, because I think sometimes visibility, yes, it feels like it's placing a target on your back, but also that can never stand up to the feeling of freedom and of being proud of who you are. And as I've grown through my gay life, I've started to see all of the beautiful gifts that we've inherited from our queer ancestors. There's a song, an iconic image, a relic that shows us our strength. These are all love letters left behind from more difficult times, reminding us that beauty and joy can dance with grief and share the same heartbeat. And so now it's our turn. Maybe the artifact we leave behind is a YouTube short or a meme or a signal to someone who is circling today's metaphorical quad, searching for a sign that they are not alone. I'm so grateful for every queer person who turned pain into poetry and persecution into pride. They left us a roadmap made of color, sound, and story. And it's on us now to keep adding to it, to keep leaving behind gifts that whisper across time, you belong, you are seen, keep going. Thank you so much for being here and thinking about some of the gifts from our queer past. I would love to hear from you, your thoughts, so please drop a comment and tell me if there are any historical gifts that you're grateful for, that you can think of that influenced your life. And if you want more queer stories like this, check out the video popping up right over here. And you can also visit myqueerbirthday.com to find other icons and events that happened on your birthday. The link is down in the description below. Until next time, stay strong, stay bold, and keep making history. And happy holidays! Happy holidays!